Accountability of the Prime Minister. The phrase, "the power behind the throne," reflects the 17th century bargain that left the crown with all the visual perception of power, but with all the real powers in the hand of the elected Prime Minister. The post of the Prime Minister is not formally accountable to the Parliament. To understand how the role is accountable, we need to find the source of the powers associated with this role. The source of these powers are not in the Constitution or the parliamentary enactment, but are instead rooted in the Convention on behalf of the Crown. This is also known as the royal prerogative. As you can see, the role of the Prime Minister is very flexible and can influence policy changes as he or she sees fit. Consequently, the status of the Prime Minister within the chain of delegation and accountability is problematic. In the devolved government of Scotland, there is a ratification procedure to hold the leader and cabinet accountable, but there is no such procedure in the Westminster model. The Prime Minister remains in place only for as long as he or she maintains the confidence of the House of Commons. The Prime Minister decides how often and when to appear before Parliament. Thus, the degree of accountability is in his hands. This complex accountability relationship between the Prime Minister and the Parliament is inherently fluid. This means there are no set rules that will establish a formal, rigid relation. The Prime Minister appears in the House largely by convention, and his job is to answer parliamentary questions, make statements, give formal speeches, and intervene in policy debates. The general perception of prime ministerial accountability are considered to be the Prime Minister's questions. Liaison committee sessions have gained more popularity in recent years. So let's look at the committee and see how the committee is a step forward in bringing more accountability to the most powerful office in the government of the UK. The House of Commons Liaison Committee is made up of the chairs of each of the select committees. A select committee is a committee made up of a small number of parliamentary members appointed to deal with the particular areas or issues originating in the Westminster system. If you were part of the Liaison Committee, how would you have scrutinized the Prime Minister? How would you make sure that the steps taken by the Prime Minister and his cabinet are in the best interest of the country? The committee's role includes taking evidence from the Prime Minister on matters of public policy, usually 3 times a year. The committee also takes a particular interest in encouraging effective committee scrutiny of the draft bills, which is sort of a pre-legislative scrutiny, departments' finance and performance, European business, and public appointments, which is the pre-appointment scrutiny. In 2002, Tony Blair, after long resistance, agreed to appear twice a year before the committee to answer questions on policy matters. This formal scrutiny function has now operated for 13 years, questioning 3 prime ministers. The new forum generated some initial media attention before becoming an established part of the parliamentary scrutiny machinery. Primarily, the sessions enable the prime ministers to be challenged on the government's record in a less partisan manner than weekly PMQs. The sessions are not interesting in a traditional political sense. There is no political theatre or blame put on the Prime Minister. Instead, the sessions are generally informative exchanges on broad government strategy and contemporary issues. In many respects, the Liaison Committee is ideally suited to conduct scrutiny of the Prime Minister. The members of the Liaison Committee are the chairs of the Departmental Select Committees. Since 2010, they have been elected by the whole House of Commons, giving enhanced legitimacy and autonomy to their job role. Being able to draw on the prior policy knowledge of the chair of any of the relevant select committees can help to redress the resource asymmetries between Parliament and the Executive. Some interesting areas of research in this topic can be: what are the goals of those participating in these scrutiny sessions? What do these goals tell us about the nature of the parliamentary scrutiny? By combining detailed empirical analysis, interviews with the participants, and comparative study, the project will add to our understanding of executive accountability, political leadership, and parliamentary development.